All right, that's all the time that we have in the News Pulse. Now over to Rahul Shivshankar for India Upfront for the top stories of the day.
Viewers, thanks very much, Ankit, and viewers, very good evening. On India Upfront tonight, we lead with a very big controversy, a controversy that has been developing over the last few weeks. There's a Supreme Court ruling that restricts the decibel of loudspeakers installed at religious places. You can't broadcast prayers beyond 45 to 55 decibel mark in residential areas. This has been laid down by the courts. This is the law of the land. And like all laws, it needs to be implemented without fear. But there are some state governments that have a problem doing this. Let's have a look at some visuals. And these visuals come from Maharashtra and Mumbai particularly, where people live in densely packed neighborhoods. These loudspeakers can make life hell. Very often residents and resident welfare associations located next to temples and mosques complain to government agencies and authorities, but nothing is done. It's an issue that works up a lot of people. And because it works up a lot of people and it is not addressed, it's an issue waiting to be picked up. And so it was by Raj Thackeray, MNS workers who belong to his party, and he himself gave the state government led by Uddhav Thackeray, his cousin, a deadline to mute loudspeakers across all religious institutions. That deadline ended today, and the MNS has now countered the broadcast of Azaan in particular by playing the Hanuman Chalisa as a mark of protest. Several MNS workers who attempted to counter Azaan with Chalisa were detained by cops in different parts of the state. The crackdown also extended to Raj Thackeray, who has been booked for provocative speeches made at Aurangabad during a rally 2 days ago. But despite the threat of arrest, Raj Thackeray remained defiant and slammed the Sena state government for what he called was a selective crackdown. Now, viewers, I want to take you to certain statements that Raj Thackeray made today. And let's pull out that graphic. He asked some questions in a press conference. He said the state government is detaining our workers, sending them notices, but what action will be taken against airing mosques? That's the first question. So he's framing this as an issue where the state government is being selective. It is cracking down on the MNS, but not against mosques because perhaps it has vote bank compulsions. Why only MNS targeted and not the ones breaking the law, whether it is temples or mosques? Why are being forced to listen to your prayers? And he's generally talking about prayers coming out of mosques and temples. Most of the mosques in Maharashtra are unauthorized. He is very now particularly targeting mosques. How is permission given for loudspeakers in illegal mosques? So there are a large number of mosques, he says. According to him, they run into more than 2 dozen. How are those mosques even around? During Hindu festivals, loudspeakers are allowed for a few days. Why are mosques given permission for 365 days? So all these questions. Why isn't the state following SC guidelines on decibel levels? And he has praised the Yogi government in Uttar Pradesh for a blanket ban on loudspeakers across temples and mosques. Viewers, listen to him.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट का डिसीजन है, डिसीजन के बाद अगर सरकार नहीं मानती तो क्या करेंगे आगे? और जब निवेदन की भाषा जब नहीं समझ में आती तब आंदोलन की भाषा शुरू हो जाती है। और इसके लिए आंदोलन है, ये एक दिन का आंदोलन नहीं है, ये चालू रहेगा जब तक ये आवाजें लाउडस्पीकर बंद नहीं होते, तब तक ये चालू रहेगा.
Do what you want, you can arrest me, throw me in jail, but I am going to continue this Andolan against Awaaz. That's what Raj Thackeray has said. He also released a video to bolster his stand and remind his own cousin of what his father and Raj's uncle promised the people of Maharashtra. And we are talking about Bal Thackeray. Listen.
ज्या दिवशी माझं सरकार या महाराष्ट्रामध्ये येईल त्यावेळेला रस्त्यामधले नमाज आम्ही पडल्या बंद केल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही. कारण धर्म असा असावा लागतो की तो राष्ट्र विकासाच्या आड येता कामा नये, लोकांना त्याचा उपद्रव होता कामा नये. आमच्या हिंदू धर्माचा कुठे जर कोणाला उपद्रव होत असेल त्यांनी मला येऊन सांगावं, आम्ही त्याचा बंदोबस्त करायला तयार आहोत. लाऊडस्पीकर मशिदीवरचे खाली येतील, बंद.
Well, the Shiv Sena got into a political fight with Raj Thackeray, obviously upset at the fact that he had tried to evoke Bal Thackeray's legacy, and the Shiv Sena accused him of politicizing this entire issue for political gains, to try and cultivate a vote bank, get closer to the BJP. And also, of course, they put out videos of Bal Thackeray slamming his own nephew Raj Thackeray for not adhering to the Sena's core ideology himself. Watch.
अरे भाई, बाला साहब का वीडियो ट्वीट करके क्या वो दिखाना चाहते हैं? उनको क्या बाला साहब ठाकरे मालूम? जो लोग बाला साहब जी को छोड़ कर गए, उनके जीते जी, वो हमें हिंदुत्व क्या सिखाएंगे? बाला साहब ने अपने उस स्पीच में लाउड स्पीकर की बात जरूर की, आपने देखा होगा. लेकिन बाला साहब के रहते हुए ही मुंबई और महाराष्ट्र में लाउड स्पीकर का मुद्दा खत्म हुआ.
Now let's listen, viewers, to our reports that have come from the ground. Now you heard Sanjay Rawat saying that, look, we've resolved this issue. In the lifetime of Mr. Bal Thackeray, we have been able to mute the loudspeakers at various religious installations. So we decided to do a status check on the ground, measure decibel levels on phone using an app. And this is one report that is coming from Aurangabad.
Right now we're present in Aurangabad's Jama Masjid, and here, as you can see right behind us, the volume, the Azaan announcement is going on. But here we are available with this decimal checker, and you can see clearly that the minimum of the decimal the volume can go is still 50 to 55. But of course, through this app particularly, I would like to show you that it is crossing at least the number of 80. It is all above 80 constantly. And see, as the Azaan goes ahead, it reaches out more than 80 to 85, and hence what we are learning is that the Supreme Court order that was given to follow the decimal for the announcement of Azaan is not being followed, at least here in Jama Masjid of Aurangabad.
Now, viewers, I want you to look at some of these hard facts. These are Supreme Court rulings. The Supreme Court has gone into this in 2000. No religion can claim use of loudspeakers for prayers. Essential. There is no fundamental right to use loudspeakers under Article 19. The Supreme Court says, why do you even need loudspeakers? Directed the state in 2021 January to act against illegal loudspeakers at religious places. This was the Karnataka High Court. Use of loudspeakers in religious places, a violation of noise pollution rules. Karnataka High Court in January 2021. Now, Allahabad High Court in January 2020. No religion prescribes the use of loudspeakers for worship. Such practice should not affect the rights of others. This is January 2020, Allahabad High Court. Punjab and Haryana High Court. Azaan, an integral part of Islamic worship, not loudspeakers. This is May 2017. Many iterations. August 2017, Madras High Court. Prayers were held even before electricity and cone speakers. So, no loudspeakers really necessary. Last but not least, viewers, I want to also apprise you of certain other rulings that were made. And this is important. The Uttarakhand High Court in 2018, even loudspeakers keep on blaring beyond 12 midnight. The loudspeaker cannot be permitted to be used without the written permission from authority, even by temples, mosques and gurdwaras. So there are some very clear guidelines and all they need is to be implemented. But what is happening, viewers, in Maharashtra? The Nashik police commissioner had to be transferred out after he had come out with a ruling that did not allow the recitation of the Hanuman Chalisa or a bhajan within 100 meters of a mosque. At the time the Azaan was being recited. This is exactly the kind of selectivity that Raj Thackeray and others are grumbling about, are protesting. And I want to open this up and ask, why is there a selective approach to this entire issue by the Sena government and its administration? And I want to go straight across to our guest this evening, and I want to start with Tehseen Poonawalla, who represents the Congress Party. Remember, the Congress Party, viewers, is part of the Shiv Sena government, is an intrinsic part of it, supports it, cheek by jowl. Yes, Tehseen Poonawalla.
Yeah, Rahul. First of all, congratulations to India, 150 on the press freedom ranking. Hindu, Muslim, no debates on economy and contracting, but Hindu, Muslim, so it is. Raj Thackeray, the empty loudspeaker, who in 2019 said that Narendra Modi ji should be removed and Rahul Gandhi should become Prime Minister. No coverage for him then. Today, 24-hour coverage for him. Here is the fact. Ask Raj Thackeray 3 questions. The video that he tweeted, after that Shiv Sena and BJP was in power not once but twice, 1999 to 2004 and 2014 to 2019. Why did they not act then, including the Bharatiya Janata Party? Were they scared? Why did Raj Thackeray not act when he had got 13 MLAs, the highest in 2009? Why did his MLAs not raise this issue in the assembly? And for the third question, an irrelevant Raj Thackeray desperately trying to make some news headlines and people trying to deflect from the economy, contracting, the RBI bringing the rates up because inflation has hit us, does not affect. Maharashtra's issue is the lack of GST that Narendra Modi is giving us, the communal poison that BJP is spreading, and the riots that BJP wants to do in Mumbai, and they will not succeed. They want to do the riots because BMC elections are around the corner.
Tehseen Poonawalla, very quick. I don't think Raj Thackeray is only talking about one religion here. He's made it very clear that he's talking about the issue at large, loudspeakers, interrupting people, obviously inconveniencing them. There are many RWAs, there are many residents who have spoken to Times Now saying this is an issue. And it's not just a Maharashtra issue. I just read out a large number of judgments cutting across states where obviously this was an issue and people flagged it and the courts were brought in to rule upon it. So this is an issue of national concern. And on top of it, all I'm saying is, Tehseen Poonawalla, there is a law. Okay, just 1 second. Why are you shouting? Tehseen, calm down. I'm only asking you. I'm only asking you if you allow me. It doesn't matter. You might have your problems with Raj Thackeray, bury him, character assassinate him, jail him. That's your problem. That's, you and the Congress and whatever else. I mean, to be honest, the Congress hardly has pretensions of being a national party anymore. With the number of states that you have, I mean, I think the AAP is almost at the same level as you, which is great. And that shows how democratic we are. And since people like you can spew all sorts of venom against anybody, criticize anyone, press freedoms is very much alive. So let's not go down that tube. I'm only saying, Tehseen Poonawalla, if there is a law, why not implement the law? I'm sure. Look, you yourself have faulted the BJP and the Shiv Sena for not doing what is right by the people. Now you have a chance. Here is a great Aghadi Sarkar who has this great opportunity to be remembered by everyone. They'll all be thankful. So just do the good thing that needs to be done. Tehseen Poonawalla.
So they are implementing the law, and wherever the law is not... I'll answer that. I'll just be very brief.
No, can you point out one statement that has been made? I'll tell you what the statement is, since I deal in facts,
okay, sure.
Mr. Poonawalla. Here
but
is
then you allow me to rebut it.
Of course you can. Here is Uddhav Thackeray on what he has said. He has said that this is an issue for the centre to get into. They must define a policy. They must outline a policy on this issue. And that hasn't stopped someone like Yogi Adityanath from cutting across faith lines to implement what the Supreme Court, the High Courts are urging state governments to do. What's the problem?
So good. If Adityanath Ji did that, so that's good for him. And the state government will act, and it is acting. All mosques and all temples have come together, and they've unanimously decided that they'll be within the Supreme Court guidelines. And if somebody beyond that does fault on the law, the law will take its course. The authorities will act. But one question: you did make a comment, just one very brief comment. You did make a comment on the Congress losing its national status. That is not true. It's still the national party in the largest opposition. At least it doesn't have to resort to manipulating Baath data, and Baath data has to be suspended. I'm talking about an ex-colleague of yours who was in jail for that. So, you know, at least the Congress doesn't do that. But coming to the more important and pertinent issue, the law will take force. Let the empty loudspeaker Raj Thackeray continue to make noise. Ask the question, why did Fadnavis not act? Ask the question, why did Raj Thackeray not raise it when he had 13 MLAs in Maharashtra? You know what he was doing in the assembly? He was doing in an assembly, he was raising slogans to beat up people from UP. Today he thinks UP is a great state. Please let him go there and stay there. Who's asked him not to?
Look, I mean, if you're going to talk about people doing U-turns, then the Congress has done the biggest one by joining hands with the Shiv Sena. That brought down.
No, it's not.
And very proud.
No,
you know what?
not.
Let me finish. Tehseen, please, let me finish,
Sure.
please. You know, I didn't interrupt you. I
Sure,
let you
fair
speak.
point.
Look,
Sure.
the Congress party said that one of the greatest crimes, and was also leading the prosecution of those who did it, was the bringing down of the Babri Masjid. And the Shiv Sena proudly says, in fact, Mr. Fadnavis also has now joined that bandwagon, saying that we were there and this was the best thing that could ever have happened. And there you have the Congress holding up the government. Then Rahul Gandhi says, viewers, and you know this, I don't need to keep telling you, that Veer Savarkar was a coward. He was no Veer. And for the Shiv Sena, of course, Veer Savarkar is God. He's an icon who deserves the Bharat Ratna. Yet the Congress supports a government that has no qualms about eulogizing a person who you credit with splitting the country into two. Nonetheless, so May
I respond to that?
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
10 seconds.
Go ahead.
Just 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That precisely shows how democratic and large-hearted the Congress is, unlike the Bharatiya jobless party. That precisely shows that the Congress, despite ideological differences, can get people in the center to follow the Constitution of India. But the Bharatiya jobless party can do only one thing: come in election, create riots, as they did in Rajasthan, Karnataka, Delhi, Kerala, West Bengal, and now they're attempting to do in Mumbai.
Right.
That is
So,
the difference between
Tehseen
the Congress.
Poonawalla, you said that it's the only party that can get people to follow Constitution.
Yeah.
Well, here you have, or the law of the land, well, here you have 1,400 or 1,140 mosques or what have you that need to, and temples and gurdwaras that need to lower their decibels, and you can't even get that implemented. So there's obviously a problem. Nonetheless, let me get Nupur Sharma to respond to you. Many charges being made by Tehseen Poonawalla. Nupur Sharma, respond.
Well, first and foremost, the Supreme Court judgment came in 2005. If you're we followed the Constitution, even though you're the people who actually very infamously suspended fundamental rights and imposed the emergency, thwarting all constitutional legality there ever was, then pray tell me, what were you doing for 10 years? It was the Supreme Court of India judgment passed in 2005. What were you doing for 10 years when the Supreme Court said the decibel level should be between 45 to 55? It was an India-wide, pan-India judgment to be implemented. Were you sleeping over it? Point number, because you were in power till 2014. Point number two, you came about the economy doing this. You will obviously not quote IMF report, which said that extreme poverty in spite of the pandemic in India has reduced to less than 1%, thanks to the Garib Kalyan Yojana. And you find, out of all things, to quote, what was it? Reporters Without Border World Press Freedom Index. You got nothing better to quote on an Indian national television. For God's sake, they've actually put us behind countries like Afghanistan, which has Taliban ruling it. And for that matter, go read up a 2019 manifesto of the Congress party, which said that media houses will not be allowed to engage in cross-holdings. So how you were trying to muzzle the media voice per your manifesto in 2019, and as the emergency, everybody knows, including people like Rahul, who are active journalists. And first and foremost, and finally, You know, the point is, Rahul, you started correctly with your pilot. You know, Hanuman Chalisa is going to send you behind bars. What Mr. Raj Thackeray is saying is actually pretty much on the line of what the Supreme Court said and what is being implemented by the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. What is the problem of the Mahavasuli Agadi? That you would arrest people who came out, you know, the Rana couple, who just declared we are going to recite the Hanuman Chalisa. You arrest 6 workers of the MNS because they recite the Hanuman Chalisa. Did you arrest the person who's actually, you know, on the loudspeaker in Aurangabad, as you shown outside the mosque, with a decibel range of 75 to 85? No, you will not. So please pretending that you're holier than thou. Please stop pretending that you're holier than thou. Stop pretending that you believe in the law, because you most certainly do not. And if you did, the first thing you would do is disallow the blocking of roads per the judgment of the Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kaulji, passed after the Shaheen Bagh issue, as in, you know, other citizens' rights cannot be thwarted. Article 21 and Article 29, Article 19 stand as far as the other citizens are concerned.
Go ahead.
And that's why blocking of public spaces is illegal.
Just one line. Thank you, Rahul, for the opportunity. Justice Kaul, when he gave the judgment, I last checked, and I was on Times Now that day with Navika, Rahul's colleague. Amit Shah was the Home Minister of the country, and Delhi police comes under Amit Shah. So please ask Amit Shah ji to send his resignation. Anyways, he's been a failure. Point number 2, the 2005 Honorable Supreme Court judgment, what Nupur and the Bharatiya Jobless Party does not tell you is the central government, the union government, the Congress government, the UPA government asked and stood by the Supreme Court and said, yes, these decibels need to be under check. They said that. So it was actually the union government that took a position that the decibels must be
Viewers,
under
look, look, let me tell you. Let me just step in here.
No, Rahul, I need to ask him. What should he resign for?
Why did blockade in Shaheen Bagh? He's a failure.
No, what should he resign for?
Send his resignation, please.
What should he? No, and he's the one who removed it. I think you missed
How
it.
did he remove it?
He removed the blockade before the judgment came. I don't know where you live. He did it in March. No, Rahul will correct. Rahul will correct you. Why, Rahul? Was it not the Delhi police which removed the blockade in March, April 2020, and the judgment came in June 2020?
Well, let me tell you, viewers, let me tell you, I have been very critical. Now, one second. Okay, let me just come in here. Let me give you the absolute facts. And I don't know why we are talking about Shaheen Bagh here. There are no loudspeakers there as of now, but that I know of. So I don't know why we're dragging Shaheen Bagh in. But I'll just very quickly tell you, viewers, there was a lot of dithering on the part of the courts and the government of that day to remove the encroachers at Shaheen Bagh. What really happened was that COVID struck. So these chaps decided that they'd done enough and they didn't want to fall sick, and they vamoosed. They disappeared. So that's really how that happened. But I'm not going down that route. I just want to tell viewers this. Look, if you're discussing hypocrisy, then let's have it out. I mean, you have a Congress government that in 2019, and correct me, Dr. Ranganathan, if I'm mistaken, hold me over the coals, that promised in its manifesto will get rid of sedition. Sedition.
Yes.
And today, viewers, sedition is applied by the Mumbai police, Tehseen will now bounce. Mumbai police. Why? Why, viewers? Why? Because you see, sedition was caused because the Ranas, independent legislators, showed up outside the residence of Mr. Uddhav Thackeray that the Mumbai police considers is holy ground. It's Mecca. And therefore, if you do anything, and this is on record, I'm not joking, viewers, this is absolutely true. Because it is holy ground, they imposed sedition against the Ranas, and the Congress that promised to scrap it has no problems with that. It's cheering from the sidelines. No, I'm just bringing it out there. I'm not saying that the BJP is less hypocritical or more hypocritical. They also have a problem. They could have also shut down the mosque. At least they made a beginning in Yogi's Uttar Pradesh. But Dr. Ranganathan, this is an issue. You know, we are trying to pigeonhole this issue, make it about some Maharashtra, Mumbai squabble between the Thackeray. But no, this is actually an issue of national concern.
No, absolutely. Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. I want to state on record that, Rahul, you gave rather expectedly 11 minutes to my good friend Tehseen, which is about 11 minutes more than what Rahul Gandhi spends in parliament. And as far as my good friend Tehseen saying, mocking Raj Thackeray of being a national leader, let me remind him that his favorite got trashed in Amethi right now is in Kathmandu, while Smriti Irani is in Wayanad. So maybe in 2024, the national leader of great national importance might lose Wayanad as well. And in 2029, maybe some seat in Bangkok, and 2033 in Italy. But let me come back to this topic, Rahul. Rahul, the fact of the matter is that in this country, secularism and appeasement are two sides of the same coin. And whichever politician flips it, says secularism, I win, appeasement, you lose. And Tehseen is quite right when he mentioned that Dev Fadnavis ruled Maharashtra for 5 years. He could also have complied with the Supreme Court orders. And if I need to be really critical, in fact, I'm not, I praise Yogi Adityanath, but I say Yogi Adityanath is following the Supreme Court orders right now, but he has been ruling UP for 5 years. He didn't do that. Baral, Der Aay Durust Aaye, Yogi has removed 50,000 illegal loudspeakers and reduced the level of 64,000 more, which is fantastic. But as George Orwell says, and to paraphrase George Orwell, in a time of universal minority appeasement, Rahul, just following the court order seems like a revolutionary act. It seems churlish for me to even point this out, that for 15 years, we have been subjecting Indians, billions of Indians, to noise pollution, which should not be there. And here I do agree with the courts. You remember, Rahul, I disagreed with the Karnataka High Court when it said that hijab is not essential. I disagreed with that. But here I agree that loudspeaker is not essential to either Islam or to any other religion. It should not be there, period. Forget about reducing the limits of the volume of loudspeaker. Loudspeaker should not be there. It causes noise pollution. The other thing that I don't know whether we are ensconced in this politically correct woke atmosphere that we can even discuss this fact, that how hurtful Azaan is to atheists and people of other religion. Because the essence of Azaan or Adhan is 4062, which is that there is no God except Allah and no other deity has the right to be worshipped but Allah. Imagine this being bleated out 5 times a day. So, you know, let's not even go there, because people would say that, oh, you're a bigot, you're saying this. But the fact of the matter is, and Tehseen, my good friend, saying we are discussing Hindu-Muslim. Well, what else is there to discuss? It is the great divider in chief. That is religion. It has caused riots. It has caused so much pogrom. It has caused so much misery to people who are not religious. Tehseen, you call yourself an atheist. Are you not offended if somebody is telling you 5 times a day that, look, there is no other God except Allah? I would be offended if somebody says, if I was a Muslim or a Hindu, if somebody says there is no God except Krishna or Shiva, why won't I be?
Do I respond?
Yeah, please, quick. And then I'll bring in the Shiv Sena and MNS. And
as an atheist, as a man of science and a proud son of India, I am offended that the children of Allah and the children of Krishna and Shiva today face the highest unemployment, face inflation, face the worst power cuts.
This is not a response. This is a...
to take the media.
Okay, but Tehseen, you're not answering the question. You've taken a pass. It's okay. You're not being honest with yourself.
I'm very honest.
I don't know. Look, you're entitled to your views.
Tehseen, for 4 years, you were saying that India has faced the highest unemployment since 45 years. That was false narrative. That was fake news. Once that was debunked, I remember I asked you 6 months ago. Tehseen, please don't interrupt.
Okay, but look, hang on. Let me just step in. Let's not go down that rabbit hole, because I'll tell you, viewers, if the message was so compelling, the people would have backed that message by voting for it. Now, one second. I just want to open this up. The Shiv Senas, Mr. Jha is with us, and the MNS's Shalini Thackeray are with us. Now, Mr. Jha, let me take you back to a clip that is doing the rounds. This is Bal Thackeray Saab, who has come out and said that when the Shiv Sena come to power, now you've realized his dream, Bal Thackeray's dream. Uddhav Thackeray is back in power. When he said there will be no loudspeakers, and he didn't talk about muting anything, he said they'll be out, removed. Why aren't you following Bal Thackeray's clear instructions? I can see on our screens loudspeakers adorning the turrets of a mosque there, and that is a mosque, Jama Masjid Mosque in Aurangabad. Why should they be there under your rule, under your Raj? Excuse the pun.
I'll be very clear today. First thing is that when this law was passed, it was in 2000, the noise pollution rules were framed. I think in 2000 there was a BJP government. First thing. Now this matter came up before the Honorable Supreme Court. Justice Lahoti, Chief Justice Lahoti passed this judgment in 2005. Before that there was also one matter in which the judgment was passed, and thereafter it was sustained by Chief Justice Lahoti. So the thing is that after 2005, which states were ruled by BJP? The BJP ruled state was Gujarat. The most communal violence took place in Gujarat from 2005 till 2010. Now, in that state itself, if you see whether this law was implemented by Mr. Modi when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Now, let me come to the subsequent events. In 2014, he became the Prime Minister of India. Now, after 2014, and after winning so many states and becoming the largest party in India, what rules they have implemented in India, or subject to what clarifications they have issued with regard to noise pollution rules? They have issued nothing. Only thing we are now harping is on 2005 judgment. Now, latest thing is that the Honorable High Courts of many states have stated that since it is causing noise pollution, so therefore the loudspeakers have to be removed. But there is no circular coming from the central government. Now the thing is that the MNS is now trying to incite communal violence in the state of Maharashtra and nothing else.
Just 10 seconds.
They are doing the politics of appeasement and nothing else, and vote dividing and nothing else. So this issue is not required to be debated anymore. And further, the MNS is nothing in Maharashtra also or in India. So we don't require to comment on this.
Okay.
Rahul, 10 seconds.
Yes, quick rebuttal. Now
Rahul, I think.
Yeah, I'll just come. Yes, quick rebuttal. Yes.
Very quick, as to my good friend, the Shiv Sena spokesperson, even I outed the hypocrisy of BJP. Sir, that is not important. What is important is that for you and for a lot of every Shiv Sena, Balasaheb Thackeray's word is like written in stone. He said no loudspeaker should be there. You are running the government. Do you agree with Balasaheb Thackeray or not? It's a simple yes or no question. Forget about the hypocrisy of BJP. Forget them. Do you agree with Balasaheb Thackeray or not?
These issues have been resolved. But let the central issue circulars on this.
How have they been resolved, sir?
Because
I'll send you 10 snaps right now, and there are loudspeakers on the turrets of mosques and mandirs.
Because
but they're still there.
Circulars have to come.
No, from where? The High Courts have ruled.
From central.
No, they don't have to. The High Courts have ruled, sir. The High Courts.
You don't agree with Balasaheb. You don't agree with Balasaheb Thackeray.
The High Courts have ruled.
You think you agree with Balasaheb Thackeray or not?
Not the agreement or disagreement. You are construing something different.
No, why am I construing something different? I asked you that same question. It's a very simple question. Do you agree with Balasaheb Thackeray or you don't agree? Just give me yes or no answer.
It is division in religion which...
Do you agree with Balasaheb Thackeray?
These issues have already been resolved as stated by Mr. Sanjay.
No.
Yes, we agree.
Answer.
We never said we don't agree.
But
these things, these clips.
Okay. Let me bring in just very quickly before I bring in the MNS. Listen to this speech that Balasaheb Thackeray gave. Now, he's not talking about muting anything, viewers. He's just talking about removing loudspeakers, and there is precedence. High Court rulings that say, from Madras High Court upwards, downwards, to say that there is no need to have loudspeakers per se. Forget it. Let's play that bite. And you contrast what Jha has said against what Bal Thackeray has said.
ज्या दिवशी माझं सरकार या महाराष्ट्रामध्ये येईल त्यावेळेला रस्त्यामधले नमाज आम्ही पडल्यात बंद केल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही. कारण धर्म असा असावा लागतो की तो राष्ट्र विकासाच्या आड येता कामा नये. लोकांना त्याचा उपद्रव होता कामा नये. आमच्या हिंदू धर्माचा कुठे जर कोणाला उपद्रव होत असेल त्यांनी मला येऊन सांगावं, आम्ही त्याचा बंदोबस्त करायला तयार आहोत. लाऊडस्पीकर मशिदीवरचे खाली येतील. बंद.
Will come down band. So Mr. Jha of the Shiv Sena can't bring himself to agree with this. Perhaps the Shiv Sena now realizes that Bal Thackeray was absolutely wrong, outdated, outmoded. He didn't know what he was talking about. Fair enough. If that is what they believe, that's
We
also...
don't say that. We don't say that.
Then tell me what you say. Tell me what you say. Is he right or is he wrong? Then what do you say? Then what do you say?
We say...
I need 5 seconds, Rahul.
1 minute.
We say clearly that these issues have to be resolved by the central government.
But why? But why? You are in power. He said the day the Sena government... was he misleading India? Was Bal Thackeray misleading India when he said the day we come into power, the Sena comes into power in Maharashtra, this is what we will be doing? He didn't wait. He didn't say, when we come into power, we will ask the central government and then the central government will give me a letter undertaking and power of attorney. Then I will go and then I will do it. No, he said, when I come to power, when the Shiv Sena comes to power, we'll remove loudspeakers. So was he wrong or misleading?
5 seconds.
I think I've been very patient,
this was
Rahul.
not misleading.
Yes, you have
These issues were already resolved during his lifetime.
Okay, not resolved during his lifetime, and we don't plan to resolve it. That's what we are being told by Mr. Jha. I have to call up Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, get his permission to agree with his father. That's what we are being told. Anyhow, let me bring in the MNS. Let me bring in the MNS, and let's get into this conversation. With the MNS, Shalini Thackeray, I want to ask you a simple, straightforward question. Is Raj Thackeray, who someone here described as a loudspeaker of nothingness, emptiness, using this issue to propel himself back into the national limelight, and also praising Yogi Adityanath, a UP-ite who he refers to as bhaiyas?
So, Rahul, I would first like to bring the issue back to what the whole loudspeaker issue is. I mean, here, I think what you've put is that very simple, that we are talking about implementing the law. And here, again and again, I'm hearing it from Shiv Sena that it is the center which is supposed to give them the guidelines. When the Supreme Court and subsequently all the high courts have already given their directives, now why do they need the center's guidelines again? It is the state government's job, responsibility to implement those guidelines. Where we are, it's very ironic that the Congress party is talking about us doing a U-turn and playing the vote bank politics, when it is them, the three parties who have come together. They have come specifically for what reason, even though their ideologies were totally different. And Shiv Sena seems to have forgotten their ideology, including the ideology set by Mananiya Balasaheb Thackeray. They have also sort of forgotten what the CM of Maharashtra today, when he was not the CM, had asked the same questions about the loudspeakers coming down. Now, if we are talking about Rajsaheb Thackeray, talking about this issue, he has talked about this issue from a very long time. But today, when he talks about that if you all are not ready to listen to this issue and you all are going to play the Azaan, which is a nuisance for the people, then I will also bring in the Hanuman Chalisa in front of the Azaan and show you how much of a nuisance it is. Now you can term him as empty, you can give him all the possible names, but the fact is that there is an issue, there is a Supreme Court directive to it, and if the administration will not act on this, then it is time for a correction. And if it is a Rajsaheb Thackeray who needs to bring this correction, then so be it. That is the way.
Okay, Ratnakar Tripathi, they are being extremely open about it. It may be a political issue for them. It might be an issue that will help galvanize them. It doesn't matter. But it is also, the demand is within the ambit of the law. So, Ratnakar Tripathi, why are you accusing the MNS that has had a consistent stand? Raj Thackeray has had a consistent stand on this.
No,
of being a turncoat and empty loudspeaker. when you have done all the somersaults. And the Shiv Sena on our channel can't agree with Bal Thackeray, sahab.
Shall I speak now?
Please.
No, where we said it has been resolved.
It's resolved. I can see it. All the mosques have their loudspeakers mounted on them. All the temples have them. Where has it been resolved, sir? He said remove them. The visual evidence is there. Visuals don't lie. They paint 1,000 words, and here they paint 1,000 words that are showing your words as hollow and empty. Anyhow.
Not only have they not been removed.
You want the Hindus on shame. They will play Hanuman Chalisa on road.
I'm asking
that
Mr.
is not a shame.
Look,
that
Mr.
is not
Jha, you are running away from your own icon. I am not running away. You become like the Congress.
We are not running away.
You've run away. You've completely not taken a stand. Dr. Ranganathan asked you a pointed question. You couldn't answer. I asked you the pointed question. You couldn't answer. I asked you 3 times. You couldn't answer. You said, resolve ho gaya issue. Bhai, resolve ho gaya to fir ho gaya. It's not favorably resolved because I can see them. Now, 1 minute. Mr. Tripathi, I want to ask you, sir, what is the issue? Just mute or remove the loudspeakers. You have agency. You have the state government, you have the administration. What's the big deal? People don't matter.
In your last debate, Mr. Shivshankar, I expressed my opinion that there is no need of loudspeakers. It's just a 100 years issue of loudspeakers.
Yes.
Now let me tell you one thing. First of all, let me congratulate you. You started your speech with the ritual of Congress bashing. As a ritual, you do it, and I accept it.
No, how did I? No, hang on. Let's go. No, 1 second. No, I'm not going to allow this. No, this is all fake news. You can't be spewing fake news here. This is what I started by saying, viewers. And let me read out. Let me read out. For once, I stuck to script. And Nizam Bhai is happy that I stuck to script. So let me read out what I wrote. Let me read out what I wrote and what I read. And let me tell you just how lying, just look how lying the Congress party. This is my introduction, viewers. Now listen to the introduction and Mr. Tripathi, give me 30 seconds. Viewers, there's a Supreme Court ruling that restricts the decibel of loudspeakers installed at religious places. You can't broadcast prayers beyond the 45 to 55 decibel mark in residential areas. This is the law of the land, and like all laws, it needs to be implemented without fear. But there are some state governments that have a problem doing this. In Maharashtra and Mumbai particularly, where people live in densely packed neighborhoods, these loudspeakers can make life hell for residents. Very often, residents and resident welfare associations complain to government authorities, but nothing is done. It's an issue waiting to be picked up. And so it was by Raj Thackeray. I've been dead honest. He jumped on an issue. MNS workers gave the state government a deadline to mute loudspeakers. That deadline ended today, and MNS has now countered the broadcast of Azaan by playing the Hanuman Chalisa today as a mark of protest. Several MNS workers who attempted to counter Azaan with Chalisa were detained by cops in different parts of the state. The crackdown also extended to Raj Thackeray. There is no mention of the Congress party. So they are liars. So you see, now let me also tell you, viewers, here you have a spokesperson who doesn't have the courage of conviction. He says we should not have loudspeakers. He should be telling Tehseen and he should be telling the Shiv Sena representative here, remove them. But who does he attack? The hapless, the poor anchor here.
But they are removed. But they've been removed.
5 seconds, please.
But they've been removed. Where are the loudspeakers?
When you told Tehseen Poonawalla that Congress party won't be able to hold its national portfolio, national status, it is not in your script. You were just lamenting.
No, Ratnakar Tripathi, tell me something. Wasn't there? No, 1 second. 1 second. Is it by law? No, 1 second. The leader of the opposition is given. No, 1 second. No. Again, you are making false accusations. You see, viewers, when the 2014 Lok Sabha, when the Lok Sabha elections ended in 2014, the Congress had a problem coming up with the LOP's position in the Lok Sabha because it didn't win 10% of the seats. In 2019, the problem became even more acute. In fact, viewers, it is the largesse of the government and the speaker through his good offices that they are being recognized as a party which is in the opposition as the leader. and they got that post. That is where the Congress is. Now, these are facts. We can, I'm sorry, Mr. Tripathi. I know it's a touchy subject, and I don't want to rub salt in your wounds, and maybe it was wrong of me. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should say that the Congress is the biggest party in India with the most number of, members. It'll make you happy. It'll make you go back into that little cocoon that you've been in, and why not? We all deserve that. But I just want to say, viewers, here, we are at the tip of a inflection point where the law of the land is not being applied for various reasons. Now, this is a bad precedent. It's creating problems. This is not about the Congress and the BJP and X sympathies and Y sympathies. This is purely about the law, and that's why I started with the law. Now, you can jail Raj Thackeray, shove him in prison, call him a seditionist, say that he's, insulting the dharma of this and the dharma of that. Fair enough. Put him in jail. But the issue won't go away, because the loudspeakers are blaring, and our own correspondent measured for you. We did a status check, and we'll do it outside temples also. There's not a problem, viewers. We're not being discriminatory here at all. All loudspeakers should go. Where's the problem? All. Take them off. Why should anyone have to wake up in the morning at 5 or suffer noise through the day when there are laws? They just need to be implemented. Governments that implement them get voted back. Do good by the people. Governments that don't usually don't get voted back. The people pay them back in their own coin. I'll leave it to this, viewers, for you to judge. I'm coming right back after this short break. Lots more.